Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is On Palmer.
Welcome in. On Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Wednesday. Hope your Wednesday is getting along great. Appreciate you hanging with us. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn sports. Been a guest on my pregame show for 5 or 6 years. Come on this show plenty of times, so we'll talk Auburn hoops here in 15 minutes. Got a recap of Southeastern Conference action last night. Of course, we will preview LSU and Auburn from the PMAC tonight at the 6 o'clock tip-off. We'll get to that at the top of hour number 2. Cardell Thomas is headed out of LSU. We'll talk about that at the end of the first hour. SEC Power Rankings in basketball. Take it or leave it. You know the drill by now. Plenty and plenty to get to here on this Wednesday. I saw a story on ESPN.com, so went ahead and clicked it. The top 10 NFL rookies from this past season. And, of course, my head immediately points to Chris Olave, and where did they have him? I can't pretend that I sit here and monitor every single rookie week to week and how they're performing. But the folks at ESPN can do that. So it starts with Sauce Gardner, corner from Cincinnati, who ended up with the Jets, 75 tackles and 2 picks. He defended 20 passes and was really all he was billed to be for the Jets this year. Aiden Hutchinson was the number 2 pick in the draft. He is number 2 on this list. Had 9.5 sacks. Somehow Aiden Hutchinson ended up with 3 interceptions this year. But he was fantastic for a Lions team that kind of caught fire down the stretch. And at number 3 is Chris Olave of the New Orleans Saints. 72 catches for Olave, had over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was the 11th pick. The Saints moved to get him, and he was exceptional this year. And that led me to, okay, what does that mean? When you move up to draft Chris Olave, in my opinion, you do so because you feel as though you've got your quarterback in place. At that point, it was Jameis Winston. You feel like he adds to a wide receiver core with Michael Thomas back healthy, Jarvis Landry healthy and ready to play. You add him to a skill position group that includes Alvin Kamara, and you think you've really got the nucleus of a really good offense, and you move up in the draft to get that pick and get that player because you're ready to win now. That's why you make that pick. That's the situation the Saints franchise hoped to be in last year when they made this pick. As I now look back on it, 9-10 months later, I say, yeah, he's awesome, and you've got him for cheap, and that's great. But Michael Thomas didn't work out, and you're about to eat a chunk of change on him. Jarvis Landry was hurt most of the season. The season was wasted. And now, as the Saints look at this with no franchise quarterback under center and no first-round pick this year, was it worth it? And my answer right now would be no. I think it would have been wiser to just take whoever falls to you there and then be in position this year to pick in the top 10. That would be a better outcome for the Saints franchise. I realize you don't get hindsight. That doesn't work. You don't get to, never mind. Can we go back? The Eagles can pick there if they want. We're going to, no. It's a weird deal because, yeah, Chris Olave could be the number 1 receiver on the next really good Saints team. Maybe that's next year. But right now, as I sit here, I go, that's a move you make to get what you believe to be one of the last pieces. You thought, man, we were decent last year. Our receiver core fell apart. We didn't have the depth. We're running Deontay Hardy out there and Marquez Callaway out there. We got Troutman trying to run around and make plays. Jawan Johnson. We're close. Our defense is one of the best in the league. And Jameis is coming back, and he's going to settle things down, and we're going to let Pete run this show. And now Mike's back, and we brought in Jarvis, so we add Olave in there. We got Kamara, offensive line. We feel pretty good. And, we'll add Penning in there because And I think he can work his way beyond Hurst eventually, in the first 2 months of the season. And then we're the best team in the division. None of that happened, except Olave coming through. So when I look at a list from ESPN that says Chris Olave, number 3 rookie, great job moving up to get that, I say, wait a second. Now I'm sitting here looking at a roster with no quarterback, 2 of those wide receivers out the door, an aging defense. I don't know what I'm doing with Cam Jordan. I don't know what I do with Peyton Turner. I don't know what I'm doing with Marcus Davenport. I got some real issues here, and I don't have a first-round pick. That's the risk you run, and the Saints have always been aggressive in the draft. They're going to move up to go get Brandon Cooks. They're going to move up to go get Mark Ingram. They've done this countless times. But they were always in that window with Breeze where it felt like it made sense. And now, for the first time in over a decade, and really 15 years, the organization's got to look up and go, we might need to throttle this back a gear. And that doesn't mean, again, to reiterate, like that Chris Olave was a bad pick. He's a great pick. Pro Bowl wide receiver future. Went over 1,000 yards his first year. But it's all about the organization. And in the big picture of the organization, unfortunately, the picture looks a little bleak, and you don't have the necessary assets to fix it. We'll throw a Citizens Bank poll question up. We'll talk about it at the end of the show and see what y'all think. Knowing what you know now, was trading up to get Chris Olave the right move? And I'm honestly, not even sitting here opening this show saying, awful job, Mickey Loomis, terrible job, Dennis Allen. You should never have done that. Because I certainly sat here in August and could have painted a picture, as I kind of did at the top of the segment, saying, this could work. We've had a defense that is in top 10 in the league, top 5 in the league the last couple of years. We think in this system that's not a Bruce Arians stretch the field, fun and gun, rip it down there, that Jameis Winston can control the offense and be productive. And we think if we add 2 veteran receivers who have made multiple Pro Bowls to this guy, we all of a sudden go from an offense with a very limited passing game to one that could be one of the better units in the league. I certainly said at a certain point, when Jarvis Landry signed with the Saints and they drafted Chris Olave, that it's one of the 3 or 4 best receiver corps in the league. I said that. So this is not some sort of pat hunt on the back. He nailed this. This is purely based on hindsight, which now is reality in the middle of January while you're sitting at home watching the playoffs. It's more fun for the fan base to trade up and go get your guy. You're sitting there on draft day. I remember we were there. We were at Don Juan. And I'm sitting there on the couch. We're doing the stream. And there it says trade, and you see the Florida Lee pop up. All right, here we go. Here come the Saints. I remember vividly a 104.5 draft party at LaBerge where the Saints made the move up to go get Brandon Cooks. And Haney had the microphone. He's going, here come the Saints' best receiver in the draft. That's exciting. It's fun. But sometimes it doesn't quite work. And in this case, I think it worked as far as the player you got. It didn't work as far as the timeline and the situation that right now the Saints are in. So Chris Olave is really, really good, but you could use some more stuff, specifically someone to throw him the ball. I don't know. I feel like I might be coming down a little hard, painting a little too much of a doom and gloom situation from the Saints, but I am telling you what I think. And it's fun to open the ESPN.com story and say, hey, Chris Olave, number 3. And then you kind of look back and go, oh, yeah, but what was the record this year? What do we got coming up in the first round next year? Okay. You never know. Garrett Wilson from the Jets was number 4. So the Jets with 2 of the top 4 rookies Tarek Woolen of the Seahawks comes in at number 5. Then they follow that up with Kenneth Walker, also a Seahawk, at number 6. Tyler Lindenbaum of the Ravens, a great center, at number 7. Christian Watson, wide receiver with the Packers, number 8. Dameon Pierce, who was kind of a surprise guy out of Florida with the Houston Texans, ended up with 939 rushing yards this year. He was taken 107th in the draft, so that's a nice pick there from Houston. And then number 10, I don't think anybody would have had this. Your starting quarterback at home in the playoffs this week, Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers, 13 touchdowns, 4 picks, and was good last week in a playoff spot. So they have got him at number 10, and it really makes things interesting with the 49ers, what they do with their quarterbacks. What do you do with Trey Lance? What do you do with Jimmy Garoppolo? What do you do with Brock Purdy? These are assets that you now can deal with. We'll see, but Brock Purdy will certainly be taking snaps coming up this weekend. We'll talk about the NFL playoffs a lot over the next couple of days, but a lot of basketball to get to today as LSU and Auburn will play in the PMAC at 6 o'clock. Hopefully a decent crowd out there for these guys as they try to rebound from a 40-point defeat. Bruce Pearl's team coming in a little different than they have been in the past, but still playing at a pretty high level. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn. He will join us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bet the NFL playoffs with FanDuel, where every play is a rush. This weekend, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay during the divisional round. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, you'll get free bets back if your NFL playoff same-game parlay doesn't hit. Same-game parlays let you combine all your favorite bets for a chance at an even bigger payday. You can even ride with thousands of other fans and bet popular same-game parlays that are already made for you. If you're new to FanDuel, join now with the promo code 1045ESPN to see for yourself why America's #1 sportsbook. If you already have FanDuel, you can start building your no-sweat same-game parlay today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. 3 legs minimum. $1 bet required. Refund issues non-withdrawable free bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max $5 bonus unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $7,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $7,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana Loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning.
The divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Tune in Saturday when the Chiefs host the Jaguars at 3:30 p.m., followed by the Eagles and the Giants at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bills host the Bengals at 2 p.m., and the 49ers host the Cowboys at 5:30, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's a game day here in Baton Rouge. Tigers and Tigers. 6 o'clock, Auburn coming to town to visit the PMAC. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn for Auburn Undercover. Joins us now. Jason, how are you?
I'm good, Hunt. How about you?
Doing very well. Before we get to basketball, I know where we are and I know what people love. Talk a little football first. The early returns on Hugh Freeze in Auburn.
Yeah, I've been really positive as compared to the last couple of years, especially. They've gone out and they basically, it wasn't a luxury to go out and get guys in the transfer portal. It was a necessity to go get guys, and they were able to do that on both sides of the line of scrimmage, especially. Really beefed up, both lines of scrimmage in a big way, and that's going to give them a chance. I'm not sure they had much of a chance before that, and so basically in 6 weeks' time, it's changed a great deal of my thoughts on this team and the potential for next season. So they've done a good job so far. Good mix of the staff. I think giving themselves a pretty good base to build around now heading into that first season.
This is the quick turnaround, on different levels, but LSU kind of turned it around real quick under Brian Kelly, and Sam Pittman inherited nothing, and they were pretty competitive in year one and pretty good in year two. Does that give Auburn some hope that this could be a little more quick than it used to be when you hired a new coach and things were kind of bottomed out?
Yeah, I think even looking to just like TCU, too.
Yeah.
TCU was 5-7 and goes to the national championship game. Now, they had a lot of veteran pieces back, and they added key guys. But, yes, I think it has a different feel than it did even 5 years ago because of the portal and because of the ability. It used to be there was a rebuilding time that you had to have, and that's still important, I think. But I think in the short term, you can be more successful and compete much quicker than you could have even just a few years ago.
Tell me about what quarterback looks like. It's really early, I get it, but what does it look like right now?
Yeah, Robbie Ashford's a guy that showed some glimpses last year in that offense. There was some injuries late in the season. So, he'll be a guy that, to me, I've talked about it before to a couple of folks that said, look, he's further along than Malik Willis was when Malik Willis left Auburn to go to Liberty to play for Hugh Freeze. So Robbie Ashford is more advanced than he was. He's also an older guy a little bit. So I think there's a base there to really work with. And he'll be a guy for them in the spring. But Holden Garner is a true freshman that's there. TJ Finley's back and going to give it another run this spring as well. So you got a couple of guys with a little experience, a talented young guy in there as well. So, but I would expect Robbie Ashford to be a guy that's going to have every opportunity to get a ton of work in the spring.
All right, let's switch over to basketball. Jason Caldwell, our guest here, talking Auburn. 14-3, 4-1 in the league, a very good spot. Maybe not quite as highlight catching as Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, but this about where you thought this team would be?
Yeah, it's just I knew they would be a defensive-minded team that had to grind it out, and that's who they are. There's a lot of those teams in the league right now. When you look at it, I think almost everybody but Alabama right now. Tennessee has shown glimpses of being a team that can run away and hide, but they haven't been that consistent. I think everybody else in this league almost looks the same, and that on a given night it's going to be a tough challenge, especially going on the road. And I think that's where this team's been. They got to make hay on defense. They got to rebound, and if they can get Wendell Green and Alan Flanagan to make a few shots, then they're a team that can compete with just about anybody. But they had a stretch there early in SEC play against Georgia, especially, where they couldn't throw it in the ocean. And if you can't do that, it doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to be very good.
And that's the deal with Bruce Pearl. It's why I like watching his program because sometimes they're a team that just shoots a ton of threes. Sometimes they're a team that just plays great defense and blocks a bunch of shots. He kind of adapts. This is not a team that is letting it fly from three all that often. What's the offensive identity of this team when it's right?
Yeah, right now, like I said, you got it's kind of a three-tiered approach right now. Josiah Broome inside is a true back to the basket, old school post player. That's who he is. He can move and run and do some things, but he's a guy that wants to get in the lane and use his left hand, big body guy. So they kind of build around him more than they have even the big guys last year. Those guys were very different guys. So that's where it starts. But Wendell Green is the guy that really, when this team goes, he's the guy that goes. The point guard, ball in his hand. He's the guy that'll let it fly and do some things. Alex Flanagan's really come on, a guy that was showing a lot of promise a couple of years ago and had an Achilles injury. Now, if he can show that consistency, he's a guy that can be a slasher and get to the rim, a little bit bigger body at guard. But this isn't a group that has a bunch of big guards. When you look outside, and KD Johnson is a spark plug, has not played very well, to be quite honest, for this season. Not nearly as well as he did last year. They could get him going to be big. But, it's just a different approach to offense for this team.
He was my next question, KD Johnson. He was an emotional guy last year, a big shot taker, made some big shots for him. And then I look up, and not that I've watched every game, but he's coming off the bench 20 minutes a game, and the statistics are not great.
Yeah, no, he just hasn't played very well. He's not making those shots. And you're right. He's an emotional guy. And I think he's one of those guys, and I called him when he first got here. I called him Vinny Johnson for those old Pistons teams because I thought he was going to be a microwave-type player. And it has been unplugged for much of this year. But he is a guy that all it takes a couple of shots for him, and it could be lights out for a couple of games in a row. And they're just kind of waiting on that moment for him. But he's still a guy that gives it defensively. Him and Zep Jasper right now have been really more defensive guys. Their quickness outside on the perimeter, doing things. So KD's doing that right now, but he hasn't delivered offensively like they thought he would.
Folks in Baton Rouge were really excited about the amount of talent that was going to come into this basketball team before Will Wade was fired. One of those pieces was likely Johan Traor, who was committed to LSU. Not a starter on this Auburn team. What have you seen from him in his first year in college?
Yeah, just a guy, he was a highly rated prospect, as everybody knows, but just such a different guy than Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith was a guy that grew up with a dad that played in the NBA, and he had grown up working and training. Traore is a guy that has not played basketball a whole lot until the last few years in his life, and was not introduced to it early. He's just a raw plus. But you look at him athletically, physically, he's got all those tools. It's just going to be a little bit slower process for him. And the question you always have nowadays is will he be a guy that says, hey, I understand that, and I understand that maybe next year my time will come. You just don't know now with the transfer portal whether you get year two for a guy like that in terms of developmental, and that's what Auburn's hoping for.
And every school's got the program that leads the way for them. In Kentucky, it's basketball. Obviously, in most places around here, it's football. LSU's baseball can at times, but Auburn's been to the College World Series a couple times in the last handful of years. Is there some excitement on the plains for baseball with Butch Thompson?
There is, and I think you look at it, you just know in this league how difficult it is. I mean, they've been in the College World Series 2 out of the last 3 years. Got some pretty key pieces returning, and yet they're not ranked in the top 25. And there's nine teams ranked in the top 25. You just know it's hard. It's hard in this league, and so I think you look at them. I think it's almost like football a little bit, and they got some transfer pieces that they're kind of hoping that kind of hit the ground running, just like last year. I mean, obviously, nobody expected to see what Sonny DeShera did last year.
I don't want to pitch to him anymore. My word.
Yes, but they got a couple of guys, Justin Kirby, who hit 14 home runs at Kent State last year as an outfielder. Bobby Pierce is back. Cason Howell's back in center field. Cole Foster's back in the infield. So they got some of those guys. Nate LaRue's back behind the plate. Can you get enough of those young pitchers? And that's always the key nowadays. You talk to baseball coaches, and the hardest thing to do is get old on the mound, because anybody that's a really good, young, talented pitcher, those are the guys that major league teams jump on early. So that's for Auburn is going to be the key. Can they get grown up early enough on the mound? And heck, even We saw it last year with Ole Miss. It took them to the middle of the SEC season to figure out what they were on the mound, and they still won the national championship. So you just got to figure out it early enough to kind of get it rolling.
Good to have a guy like Butch Thompson in the dugout when you're trying to do it. Jason, thanks so much for your time, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover does a great job covering Auburn. We kind of hit all the bases there. They got Hugh Freeze in. Everybody loves him. I think Robbie Ashford is the leader for that quarterback competition. You were thinking they were dipping in the transfer portal here or there. There was a lot of chatter about a couple of different names, Grayson McCall being one of them that Taylor Sharp was all fired up about. I was told from somebody that I think would know that Grayson McCall was really interested in Auburn. They couldn't make his degree work out at Auburn. Where he was headed, they just didn't have it to offer. It just wasn't going to work. So that's one of those issues that pops up that no one on the outside really pays any attention to, myself very much included in that. But it matters when you're trying to graduate from college and you take all these credits and you got nowhere to drop them. So it looks like right now Ashford is their guy there, and Auburn's replacing a ton on their baseball side of things. But tonight it's all about basketball, and I'll give you my thoughts on this Auburn team coming up at the top of hour number 2 at 2 o'clock. It's an Auburn team that is very much, as Jason just alluded to, it's in the upper half of the middle of the pack, but the middle of the pack is just jam tight. It just is. Once you get past Alabama and Tennessee, everybody's kind of thrown in the slush until the very bottom of the pile with, I think, Ole Miss and South Carolina. And I'll do my power rankings coming up an hour from now, and I'll give you my thoughts on where I put people. But there's just a lot of middle of the pack teams, some a little bit better than others, but that can get beat on a given night, especially on a different floor. And that's what Auburn ran into against Georgia over in Athens. And hopefully that's what Auburn runs into tonight in the PMAC. It'll be a 6 o'clock tip. Incidentally, if you want to listen to the game tonight, you're out and about. You can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. It'll be a 5:30 pregame with John Brady and Chris Blair, and they'll have tip at 6 o'clock inside the Assembly Center. So we'll talk about that game coming up in an hour. When we come back, I gave you some gambling picks yesterday on the SEC. We'll talk a little bit about that, and LSU lost a player to the transfer portal. That to come as well. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One bath and closets. One company, one contractor, one bath and closets. They mean that. They mean a couple of things. One, if you want to have a bathroom renovation, bathroom remodel, you're not going to have to call 4 different contractors to come in and do it. David Duvall and his team have been in this game for 30 years. They will take care of all of it. They will show up on time when they say they're going to. They will keep this job on track, on schedule. And I promise you, they're not going to come back 3 weeks later because they cut some corners to get to the next job, and they got to fix something because it didn't work. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. That's on the bathroom side of things and the closet side of things. You tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over for a closet consultation and then subsequently the work. They're not going to charge you to rip out your old closet or for the installation of the new one. All you're going to pay for is that unit. Free consultation. Just give David Duvall and his team a call or head to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Free is free. They'll come in, tell you what they think, what they can do, then you make the decision. One Bath and Closets, David Duvall and his team. Find them at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Aaron and Austin Nola will join us. We'll preview LSU basketball and hoops, and it's a Whiskey Wednesday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, half the work week in the rearview mirror. It's a Wednesday afternoon here, just after 1:30. Hope yours is going great. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Jason Caldwell just joined us talking Auburn Tigers. I'll give you my preview of Bruce Pearl's squad coming up in 30 minutes. But wanted to revisit last night's SEC action because I'm starting to make some picks here against the spread. People are starting to make fun of those picks. So we'll just kind of start keeping track of how things go. Last night there were 4 games. I gave you picks on all of them. It started with Ole Miss at South Carolina. I told you, look, there is no way the Ole Miss Rebels on the road should be favored over 5.5 by anyone ever. That is not the way this Ole Miss team has played. You got to jump on South Carolina. This is a great spot, plus 5.5. 70-58 Rebels. I don't know if we're going to, anytime soon, maybe ever, understand what happened when South Carolina went to Rupp and not only beat Kentucky, but handily beat them from the start of the game to the finish. It wasn't like a hang around thing. No, they were up 15 in the first half and never really relinquished it. They're terrible. Not that Kentucky looks like a Final Four squad right now, but South Carolina stinks. Because Ole Miss has been bad. They were 0-5 in the league going into that game. Hadn't won a true road game all year. And they go into South Carolina, win by 12. So I thought that was a reasonable pick. Obviously, it was not. So we go to Tennessee, Mississippi State. That game was in Starkville. State was catching 6 points at home. I said, Mississippi State is probably not going to let Tennessee score 87 points again, but I don't think they're going to score 60. And you look up, and they scored 59. So that I actually got home with. I had Tennessee minus the 6. I thought that was a game they could win. Tennessee actually playing without a couple of guys that they lean on pretty heavily. So they had to dip into the bench a little bit. And you got a monster night from Zakai Ziegler in a game where you did not have Santiago Vescovi. And Ziegler goes for 24 points in the game. I thought it was awesome. Julian Phillips, a guy that LSU was very much, they signed him. So not that they were very much in on. He was in. He goes for 18 points and 11 rebounds on the road as a freshman in the game where they really needed him as well. So Tennessee moves to 5-1 in league play. I was correct on that bet there. Bama was at Vandy. Only an 8-point number. I realize that you can't favor teams by 30 all that often in conference play because Bama's generally been covering that. But I did not think that Vanderbilt, even off a 97-point outing against Arkansas, was going to be able to stay within 8 of Alabama. They did not. Brandon Miller continues to be an absolute freak of nature. He goes on the road in a goofy gym and scores 30 points, has 12 rebounds. He's been the best player in the league pretty simply this year from start to finish. So they win that game 78-66. Vanderbilt tried to keep it close, and they did score 40 points on Bama in the second half, which is pretty good. Vanderbilt's been running some good stuff offensively and scoring some points, but they could not get within the 8. It was a 12-point win. So that's a winner for me, 2-1 if you're scoring at home. Then we go to the game at Rupp, Georgia at Kentucky. The line on this game was 11. This was a prove-it spot for Kentucky. This is a team that in big tests has generally failed, but they went to Knoxville into a hornet's nest where they were retiring Chris Lofton's jersey on a Saturday. You're going to fill that place up. It was full. It was loud. And Kentucky just took it to them. Did not care. So that was back over the weekend. Great. That's a great win for you to move forward. What can you do coming home? Maybe a bit of a trap spot because you've got a Georgia program coming in that hasn't been very good over the last few years. What does it look like? And it was kind of what I thought. I loved Georgia and the 11 points in this game. And you look up at halftime, and Georgia's up by 8. So I've got a 19-point lead at the half. I'm catching 11 points, and I'm up by 8. Surely we can get home over that. Or not, thanks to Mr. Oscar Tshiebwe. If you missed Oscar's stat line last night, it was pretty good for a week in the SEC. 37 points and 24 rebounds. If you average that over 2 games, you'd be doing pretty well. 18 points and 12 rebounds. He had it in 1 against Georgia. And without him, Kentucky is a sunk ship. But they have him, and he's awesome. And he's so frustrating to play against. 37 points and 24 rebounds. Shout out to Tshiebwe. Went 13 of 18 from the line, which is a place that he struggles a little bit, but he was really good. And there's been a bit of a change here for Kentucky, and I think this is going to be, right now, what Kentucky Wildcat fans will cling to as a change in what they do moving forward. They have moved Xavier Wheeler out of the starting lineup and really out of the lead point guard position. They're going with Cason Wallace. He's not the proven penetrator and passer of Xavier Wheeler, who has led the SEC in assists 2 different times. This is a more scoring and dynamic point guard, and he changes the way they play a little bit. So they've moved C.J. Frederick in there to the 2-guard spot and bumped Livingston and Toppin down to play with Tshiebwe, and it's a little bit more Calipari-esque. Tyler Ulis was a small point guard that he had. That's for sure. I don't think, John Wall's not huge, although he's not short. But Wheeler's a little bit limited. I like him, but he's a little bit limited. And Cason Wallace is not. Cason Wallace is the lottery pick. So they have gone to him, and that's what they're hoping will make a huge difference. They dropped a 50-burger in the second half against Georgia to win the game 85-71. So a really nice win by Kentucky when they were on the ropes to go ahead and get that one. So now I guess we'll move to tonight's action in the Southeastern Conference and see if I can do a little bit better than 500. We'll see. We're not going to pick the LSU game against the spread just yet because, that's a game we're going to break down in the second hour of this game, of this show. But we will talk about the other games in Southeastern Conference play. Starts at the same time as LSU at 6 o'clock. Florida is headed to Texas A&M. They played this game in Gainesville 2.5 weeks ago. And Texas A&M went in there and got a gritty win. A&M's playing really good basketball. They are 4-0 in league play. I don't know that it's the greatest 4 wins that have ever been assembled in the history of the Southeastern Conference. They got a nice runway in league play. They started out at Florida. Then they got a home game against LSU, a home game against Missouri, and went to South Carolina. So in the way that LSU had a really difficult start to their conference play, A&M's not quite as tough. But Florida can go in there and win. And these are 2 of the teams, like I'm talking about, that are jammed up in there in the mediocrity group. Yeah, A&M's 4-0 in the league, but they were 8-5 in non-conference, so they're not exactly a world beater. I'll take A&M. They're playing really well right now. I'll take them minus the 3.5, and I won't enjoy that, but it's what I'll do. I'll be pulling for Florida because I don't want A&M to win really anything. And the other game is another rematch of a game that we've seen already this year. It is Arkansas going to Missouri. Missouri got a lead on Arkansas in round 1 of this in Fayetteville, and Arkansas roared back in the second half to win it. Missouri is a 2-point favorite in this game, another home favorite. I just can't hitch my wagon to Arkansas right now. I'm sorry. I got a point guard who's not shooting the ball very well. I've got Devo Davis who's shooting too much. I've got a depth issue that's significant. And I've got a team in Arkansas that was playing really good defense and had trouble scoring, and then they give up 97 points to Vanderbilt. So that's not even playing defense. It's the old Charlie Handegriff quoting Apollo 13, I think it is, when the spaceship's going nuts. He goes, what do we got on this thing that works? Well, what does Arkansas have on this thing that works? They got some length. That's about all it. They don't shoot it worth a flip. They don't have any depth, and the defense let them down on the weekend. So I'm going to take Missouri at home in Columbia in a game that means a lot to them. It's funny how the tables turn. Arkansas had that year-end game with LSU in football where, in their eyes, LSU was a hated rival. It was a huge deal, and Tiger fans tried to think they were too cool for it. Like, I don't really care about this. I got to worry about Florida and Bama. Got to worry about Auburn. I don't really care about this stupid game on Friday. And now it's been flipped, and Arkansas is playing Missouri on Friday, and Missouri's like, oh, these are our SEC rivals. Look at this. We got to beat Arkansas. And Arkansas is going, yeah, we're kind of too cool for this. We've been playing LSU for a while. We've played a lot of games against Bama and Auburn. Like, who are you, Missouri? But now they got to kind of embrace it because they play them at the end. And in basketball, it should be a big deal. Theoretically, if all things worked out the way they should, these two teams should be a basketball rivalry. Missouri fancies its rivalry with Kansas. It ought to fancy its rivalry with Arkansas in league play. So it's a game that Arkansas won in Fayetteville. I'll take Missouri, and I'll lay the 2 points in this game at Mizzou Arena tonight. So I'll take both the home favorites tonight and lay a small amount of points, 3.5 with A&M and 2 with Missouri. That Arkansas-Missouri game at 8 o'clock tonight on SEC Network. That will follow Florida Texas A&M tonight. LSU is over on ESPN2 against number 18 Auburn. We are about 18 minutes away from me breaking down those Auburn Tigers, giving you a scouting report tonight and some keys for LSU to win. When we come back, LSU had one more defection in the transfer portal today. We'll tell you who it is and what that means for the Tigers coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. What's a champion of Louisiana? Well, it's a person, it's a nonprofit, some small business that is doing great things for people in our great state. I'm talking with the LWCC gang, and they're saying, look, everyone loves Louisiana. They love the food. They love the music, the culture, Mardi Gras, football, all that. But we should be admired as much as we are loved. So they put together a program to elevate and celebrate great things about our state. And all January long, we're telling you about Hunters for the Hungry. They were started in 1994, and they've expanded throughout the state, now partnering with all 5 major food banks in Louisiana, working to reduce the number of hungry families by connecting hunters and fishers across the state and capitalizing on the bounty of the land with their neighbors in need. Hunters for the Hungry, number of great programs, including Clean Out Your Freezer Day. We told you about the Freshly Harvested Game program as well. Just a fantastic organization, Hunters of the Hungry. That's why they're a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before. Streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, E-Tail, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for Game Time, live from Snow's Seafood and Steak, Airline Highway at Highway 74 in Gonzales. 6 to 8 p.m. Wednesday, got a bunch of guests giving out picks. Game Time on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One more transfer portal defection. No, I'm not talking about Walker Howard. We've known about that one for a little bit. Cardell Thomas of LSU has decided to enter his name into the transfer portal. He will enter as a grad transfer. Of course, was a elite prospect coming out of high school right here in Baton Rouge. 247 Sports had him as a 5-star recruit. And he comes in 2019. He got hurt and missed a lot of camp, and it just couldn't really catch up. So redshirted in 2019. In the COVID year, only played 4 snaps the entire year. Those were against South Carolina in a game that LSU won. But he came back for his sophomore year in 2021, played in 6 games, got a couple of starts in 2021, including the Texas A&M game that LSU won. But this past year, as a junior, saw 78 total snaps on the year. He played 36 against Southern and 22 against Purdue. So if you look at that, that's 58 of his 78 snaps in a mop-up game against Southern and a absolute annihilation of Purdue. Just never quite made his way into the rotation. You saw the remarkable kind of film of him in camps in these one-on-one drills with no pads on, where he's like throwing kids around. Just a big, strong 18-year-old young man at that point, but never became the 5-star impact guy at LSU, although he kept coming back and he kept working. And there were times where I think there may have been an issue with some weight. He would cut the weight and he would show back up and was available. And again, started an amazing win for LSU against Texas A&M in the last game of 2021. But he's going to take he will graduate from LSU, so he'll be able to go anywhere that he wants and be eligible to play immediately. So we'll see what's next for Cardell Thomas, a Baton Rouge kid that you had to keep in state and did. And now we look back 4 years later, and he'll be heading somewhere else. The LSU offensive line has lost some pieces in the transfer portal, but really the only starting loss was Anthony Bradford when he declared for the NFL draft. You're still going to return everyone else off that offensive front. You know that Will Campbell and Emory Jones are your bookends at tackle, and you feel good about what you had at center with Charles Turner and working some other guys in there. Dellinger can move in and play center or at either guard spot, and I thought it was a pretty good year for Miles Frazier at guard as well. And you bring in a class that you feel really, really good at. It's part of the trajectory when you have a really young offensive line, which LSU did this year, and they're all going to come back. The guys that are behind them, and specifically the guys that are older than them and are behind them, a la Cardell Thomas or any of the guys that we've seen, Doomerville, that have transferred out, that's just part of it. And again, I don't think the reaction to a reserve guard is going to be the same as a reaction to a quarterback. But the fact of the matter is that they were both five-star guys in Walker Howard and Cardell Thomas, who hadn't really done very much at LSU. But the visceral reaction is going to come, and probably rightly so, from the freshman quarterback as opposed to the senior reserve guard. I get it. But I still think as you look at this and evaluate LSU's offensive line as a whole, they're in a really good spot. And it's been a talking point that I've been over time and time again with the tough spot that Brad Davis was in when he took this job as the offensive line coach a month before the season started in 2021. Now, you look back a year and a half later, and things are very stable. And I use that word on purpose because it would appear if you lose 5 guys from the transfer portal off one position, things are not all that stable. But the fact of the matter is you've got the nucleus of that front, and you're never going to go through an entire season without bumps and bruises on the offensive line. It's just the way it goes. Guys that are that big, that are in that many collisions at every play and have their knees exposed the way they do, you're going to have guys get banged up throughout the course of a season. Hands, wrists, fingers, knees, ankles. That stuff's going to happen, and you've got to have depth to do it. But you're just not going to keep guys around all that often that aren't near the starting lineup and are aging out. So you've got to backfill with high school kids that are going to be ready to play sooner rather than later. And by all accounts, that's what LSU's done in this class. Again, for the 975,000th time, it was unheard of to toss a freshman on the offensive line 15, 20 years ago. No way. Now, you're usually at one of these high-level programs going to have one. Not every time. Not always. Not every program. Not every year. But you're going to have a guy come in that's already 6'5", 312 pounds, and he may not have to be Will Campbell and start at tackle. But if you need him to come in and slot in at guard for the second half of a game, that may be a possibility. And that was looked upon as just unthinkable at one time. It's just not anymore. Which is why a bunch of freshmen won jobs this year on the offensive line for LSU, and why they're probably going to count on some freshmen as depth next year, when in reality you turn a veteran offensive line that played just about all the snaps for you. So Cardell Thomas will be moving on. Transfer portal locked up. Coming up one more day, so we'll see. I think everything's is all well and dandy. The last piece of news on the transfer portal, I don't know what this exactly means, but it's easy to do something from it. Garrett Nussmeier has been named to LSU's Player Advisory Council. I don't know what the Player Advisory Council does. I don't know how they meet or what authority they have or what their job is. But I don't think a guy joins the Player Advisory Council and decides to transfer out the next day. That's a guess on my part, but I feel pretty good about it. So I think LSU fans can feel relatively secure that when they crank up spring practice here in a couple of weeks, that you'll have Garrett Nussmeier very much in the mix for that. That's just my thought as you look at what was announced over this week. That'll do it for hour number 1 here on a Wednesday. Open things up talking Saints. Chris Olave, number 3 rookie in the NFL per ESPN, Was that still a good pick? Well, we'll get your thoughts on the Citizens Bank poll question of the day at the end of the show, but we shall see. Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover joined us to talk about the Auburn Tiger basketball program. Hit a little football and a little baseball with him as well, and then some SEC hoops recap and preview of last night's game and the ones that will come tonight. Finish things up with some transfer portal talk. If you missed it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab or Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. Always appreciate y'all checking us out on YouTube. Throw us a like, those of y'all in the Bayou Ford chat. Florida has got a little situation on its hands with Jalen Rashada. We're going to talk about that in the second hour. Also going to get SEC power rankings on the basketball side of things. But when we come back to start hour number 2, I will give you my full scouting report on the Auburn Tigers. What is Bruce Pearl bringing into the PMAC tonight? That's coming up after Sports Center. Don't go anywhere. Come back with us after said Sports Center. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sky, I've got that sunshine.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Bill safety Damar Hamlin has been at the team's facility almost daily, according to coach Sean McDermott. Hamlin, who went into cardiac arrest during a game a little more than 2 weeks ago, remains limited just overall in what he can do, but he does continue to take steps forward. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, a full participant at practice today. Hurts not concerned his sprained right shoulder might be a target of the Giants in Saturday night's NFC divisional playoff game. He told reporters he's got a bounty on him every week he goes onto the field. New York certainly will test that shoulder, explains Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty.
If you're a Giants defender, you're damn right we're going to check Jalen Hurts' oil. We're going to see how healthy he is. So if Jalen Hurts wants to be a runner, if he takes off, then you treat him like a runner. That means physical, gang tackling, and when he's in the pocket, you have to contain him. Don't let him break outside of the pocket, but you storm the pocket and you try to put physical hits on the quarterback.
Our Chris Canty on Greeny. NBA Cavaliers star guard Donovan Mitchell, dealing with a strained left groin, will not play tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 here coming at you on a Wednesday. Working towards the weekend. We're going to get there. Halfway home. It's a game day here in Baton Rouge. Tigers welcoming Bruce Pearl's Auburn club for a 6 o'clock tip-off. 5:30 pregame on Eagle 98.1. You can catch the game on ESPN 2 tonight. We'll see if LSU can get a win. Usually I talk about keys to the game and like what I think is possible in the game at the end of the segment, and that would make a lot of sense. But I'm going to start things off just in this segment saying, look, LSU can win tonight. I know that's a difficult thing to try to comprehend when you consider that they went to College Station and got beat by double digits and were down the entire game, and they came home and played Florida, who's okay, and they got beat by double digits at the end of the game, and then they went to Tuscaloosa and got absolutely embarrassed, and all that stuff did happen. But LSU is still a functional basketball team. They're short on talent and they're limited. But they beat Wake, who's off to a really good start in the ACC. They played Kansas State to the buzzer. We saw what they did last night. They're in business in the Big 12, and they just beat Kansas last night. They did beat an Arkansas team that has not played well, but it is fairly talented. They went to Rupp, and they were right in the game against the Kentucky team that, again, is not going to go to the Final Four as of this juncture, but they've got some talented players on their team. Maybe they figured out, maybe they don't, but they've got some talented guys, and LSU played them right there. And Auburn is a good basketball team. They're not an elite basketball team. I don't think they're a top 2 team in the SEC. I think they're going on the road where they lost to a Georgia team that I don't think is great. LSU can win the game tonight. They're going to have to make some shots. They're going to have to knock down some threes. They got to rebound way better than they have. And there's some more things that I'll talk about at the end of the show, at the end of the segment after I go through some of Auburn's metrics and their personnel. But this is a winnable game. Auburn's 14-3, which is a nice record. They're 4-1 in the league. They beat Florida by 3. They beat Arkansas by 13. They beat Ole Miss by 9. They beat Mississippi State by 6. They lost to Georgia by 12 points. They scored 64 in that game. If you heard our interview with Jason Caldwell almost an hour ago, he said, look, they couldn't make any shots in the game. Maybe the most boring cliche I can throw at you as far as basketball and boiling it down is that it's a shot-making sport. No joke. You got to put it in the basket. But that's true. And sometimes teams can't make any shots. And at times, Auburn has been a team that has struggled to make shots. They don't have anybody on this team like Jabari Smith to hand the ball to and say, hey, go score. There's not. They got some good players. They've won some games. But they're not some elite Auburn outfit that we've seen a couple times in the Bruce Pearl era. They're average in terms of their tempo. I thought they'd be a little quicker, 144th in the country. Of course, we know that LSU wants to slow games down. Their offensive efficiency is 139th in the country. That's no great shakes. Points per game, 121st. 3-point shooting percentage, 315th in the country. We've seen Bruce Pearl teams come in there, and they're going to put up 33 threes, whether you like it or not. Here they come, fast and furious. That's not what this team is. They do shoot some free throws. They're 30th in the country in free throws attempted per game. But they're flawed on offense at times. 64 points on Georgia, 61 on Florida. Sometimes it's not there. They block a lot of shots on defense. They're 5th in the country in block shots. Their defensive efficiency is 16th. They've played well defensively. That doesn't bode well for an LSU offense that's very much had trouble getting out of neutral. Maybe even getting the doors unlocked, quite frankly. It's been ugly for the last 2 weeks for LSU offensively. And Auburn's good on defense, and they block a lot of shots. So let me stop there and go to an LSU point. It might behoove LSU in this game, if you're Adam Miller, or especially if you're Juice Hill, maybe if you're Cam Hayes, if you win off the dribble or you get the ball on a cut, it's okay to pull up from 5 feet and shoot it. Put it off the glass. Janai Broom's going to be down there. He's trouble. He blocks a lot of shots. And LSU has not shown itself to be quite capable at this point of either A, drawing contact, or B, finishing at the rim. They cannot finish. So why do we keep trying to do this? I realize you can't stop trying to attack the rim and shoot layups altogether. But what's wrong with the 5-footer? Now, Nate Oates would kick me out of the studio, throw a muzzle over my mouth, and kick me down the stairs if I said what's wrong with a 5-footer. They're only shooting layups. But LSU's tried that for 2 weeks straight, and they don't score on any of them. So maybe something different. Pull up, teardrop, jump stop off the glass. Something a little different. I would like to see a little bit of offense from around the rim. So we'll get into Auburn personnel-wise. Wendell Green makes them go. He's the offense. They've got other players, but Wendell Green is the guard who has the ball in his hands more than anybody else, who takes more shots than anybody else. He's a 5'11 junior, scores 13.5 points per game, 4 assists per game. Hasn't been a great shooter this year, just 29% from 3. Good free throw shooter, high volume shooter. Wendell Green, 5'11 guard. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Zep Jasper may have the most startling statistical line for the year for a starting SEC player on a good team I have ever seen. He is a 6'1 graduate student guard who has started every game. He averages 3 points and less than half an assist. He has 9 assists on the season, averages 3 points per game, and he starts every game in the backcourt for a good team. This is as non-factor an offensive player as I can recall looking at on a stat sheet. If Zep Jasper goes for 26 tonight and LSU loses, I'll come apologize on tomorrow's show. But I look at him right now and I go, this guy doesn't do anything. Not only does he not pass, he doesn't really score. But those are your 2 starting guards. They'll bring KD Johnson off the bench. We talked in the last hour with Jason Caldwell about him. KD Johnson was an emotional leader for that team last year. You know, you go into Auburn Arena and it's the jungle and you got the students going all over the place and Jabari shooting threes and dunking and Walker Kessler's blocking shots. And KD Johnson was a big part of that. Now he comes off the bench and hasn't been very good for him. Chris Moore's going to start. He's kind of an enforcer. 6'6", 230, junior, 6 points, 2 rebounds per game. Just a big athletic body. Same thing with Jalen Williams, 6'8", 230. He's a senior. little bit better shooter, 10 points per game, 5 rebounds, a little bit more impactful. Those two guys are pretty big on the wings with Chris Moore and Jalen Williams. And then here is Johni Broome. And Johni Broome is a transfer from Morehead State. Well, what do we know about Morehead State? They're in the same conference as Murray State. So Matt McMahon has seen Johni Broome play. He's a sophomore, 6'10", 235, and he and KJ Williams went at it 3 times last year, twice in the regular season, once in the conference tournament final. Here is how those matchups went last year. In the first matchup between Morehead State and Murray State, KJ Williams had 21 points and 9 rebounds. Johni Broome, 14 points, 11 rebounds. KJ outscored him, but Johni had the double-double. Pretty competitive game. Round 2, KJ Williams goes for 21 and 12, double-double. Johni Broome, 14 and 12, another double-double. These two guys are both 6'10". They both got wide frames, and they've seen each other a lot. And I was a little surprised when I saw the last stat line from the conference championship game. We know Murray State won the game. Johni Broome, 32 points and 8 rebounds in that game for Morehead State. KJ Williams, 8 points, 10 rebounds. So Murray State got the better of them. They're a better team. But Johni Broome and KJ Williams, they played tough. And in those 3 games, you're talking about 60 points from Johni Broome. You're talking about 31 rebounds. That's yeoman's work. He's 3rd in the SEC in blocks this year, 2nd in rebounds this year in the SEC with 8.5. He's an impactful big, and he's a back-to-the-basket guy, not going to stretch you very much. You're going to have to play him around the bucket. So that's Auburn from a personnel perspective. Wendell Green's going to have the ball a ton. He's the guy you got to watch at 5'11". The other 3 guys on the wings don't do a ton offensively. They're average players. Johni Broome, big 6'10" post. I told you I don't need LSU driving in there and getting shots blocked on the reg. Now, if you've got Hannibal or somebody you trust, even Miller at times, to get into Johni Broome's body and get some foul trouble, that's fine. Juice Hill, probably not. Justice Williams, probably not. If those guys want to pull up from 5 feet, I'm fine with that. Having guys who haven't finished all year get in there and try to finish at the rim, not super exciting to me. And in this game, it sounds like Cam Hayes is going to start. That's important for LSU. Is he an all-league player? He is not. Is he your best option handling the ball and creating some offense? I believe he is. He's been a little banged up. He played a little bit on Saturday. He's had a couple days off. He needs to be out there playing in this game. And quite frankly, to win this game, I believe LSU is going to need to make 12 or 13 threes. It's a daunting task, but it can be done. And I'm okay if LSU shoots some more threes as opposed to the 2s. Your 2-point percentage is bad. If you want to get steals and runouts and dunk, that's a good 2. If you can crash the offensive boards and get a cheap putback, that's a good 2. But your percentages aren't very good, and you're not an awful 3-point shooting team. I'm not going to put you up there with Golden State just yet, but you can make some threes. I'm okay with Miller shooting 11 or 12 threes. I'm okay with Hayes shooting 8 or 9 threes. I'm okay with KJ shooting 8 or 9 threes. I'm okay with Juice Hill shooting 3 or 4 threes. That's basketball. And if you create them by high ball screens, that's good. If you create them in transitions, that's good. If you create them by throwing the ball to KJ Williams, making Auburn double team him, and then throwing the ball out from the double team, I'm good with that too. But you got to get some good looks, 10 toes at the rim, put up some threes. There have been LSU teams in the recent past where I said, stop shooting threes. Last year was one of those times. You got Gaines out there, Pinson out there. They're not great 3-point shooters. I don't need to see them shot. But this team does have some guys that can make some shots. I need to see that tonight. You're going to have to shoot it pretty well to beat a pretty good Auburn team. But again, an Auburn team that can be beaten. I'll tell you where I think Auburn lands in the SEC coming up with our power rankings at 2:30. When we come back, I think we all kind of revel in the misery of other SEC brethren And right now, it's a little cranky in Gainesville. It's some issues with Jalen Rashada, the quarterback, in their signing class. We'll talk about that next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bet the NFL playoffs with FanDuel, where every play is a rush. This weekend, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay during the divisional round. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account. You'll get free bets back if your NFL playoff same-game parlay does not hit. Same-game parlays let you combine all your favorite bets for a chance at a bigger payday. You can bet a quarterback's passing touchdowns, anytime touchdown score, running backs on their rushing yards. You can even ride with thousands of other fans and bet popular same-game parlays already made for you. If you're new to FanDuel, sign in with the promo code 1045ESPN to see why it's America's #1 sportsbook. If you already have FanDuel, you can start building your no-sweat same-game parlay today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued, non-withdrawable free bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with
on Thursday's OTB. Who will make it to the NFL Final Four? Plus, how did the Pelicans fare in their return trip home against Miami Heat? And a brand new Munchies off the bench. 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
By now, you're probably aware of the drama that's going on in Gainesville with 5-star quarterback signee, Jaden Rashada. If you're not, I can run it down pretty quickly here. This is a kid who was very highly recruited. He comes out of Pittsburgh, California, and he's a dual threat quarterback who a lot of schools are in on. And Miami secures his commitment in June of 2022, so this past summer. We know that Miami has gotten very heavy into the NIL game. John Ruiz is throwing around a bunch of cash, transfers, basketball, baseball, football. Miami's signing class ended in the top 5 this year. Miami's a good place to recruit to. It's got great weather and got some history, and it's in a great spot in terms of geography with talent around it. They were fighting for a really great class. So in June, they get Jaden Rashada's commitment. November the 10th, Rashada decommitted to Miami and committed to Florida, where he would sign 6 weeks later. Now, the reports are that Jaden Rashada signed with an understanding that he would receive a compensation that is, again, reportedly in the ballpark of $13 million over 3 years. And now, reportedly, things are not going as planned, and Jaden Rashada wants out of his letter of intent. Now, this is absolute diesel fuel to the fire of those who say that name, image, and likeness is going to wreck the sport. You've got a kid from California who commits one place for money, and keep in mind, I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here. He's from California. He commits in one place just for money. Then he gets more money somewhere else, so he commits there. Then they're not going to give him the money, so he's leaving, and the whole thing's screwed up. And I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that that's a crazy line of thought. I do have an opinion on it. My opinion is two-pronged. One, I don't believe that quarterbacks are going to be annually offered $13 million contracts to go play college football. I don't think that will continue. I don't know that that's what Jaden Rashada got. It's been reported that way. We'll just have it that way for the sake of the conversation. Something's up. It might as well be this. I don't think that's going to continue. I also think that I can build a football team, including the quarterback position, that doesn't involve me getting tied into $13 million deals. I'm not naive enough to sit here and say that Jaden Rashada is the first player to commit to a place, have some promises at that place, then have some better promises somewhere else and change. Whether it's name, image, and likeness that's legal, or whether it's a small chunk of cash in a McDonald's bag. Like, that stuff is real. Jaden Rashada is not the first kid who's gone somewhere because of money. But I would be a little bit careful, because you're going to create some significant issues in your program if you single guys out and give deals this big. And the whole time we're circling around this story, all of the college football world, understanding that it's clearly spelled out in the quote-unquote rules that name, image, and likeness promises cannot be used as endorsements in recruiting. And that's all we're talking about here based on all the reporting. Florida got real aggressive and a little cranky because their class wasn't shaping up and said, well, we'll do this. One, we need to stamp Miami out. Got to, make sure that they don't become a factor, because that's bad for us. We need to get some players out of South Florida. Two, we're not getting enough players. We got to get this kid. And then you overcommitted. This just in, a little easier to fulfill a $50,000 request than a $13 million request. I'm just making up some numbers here. But for those that suggest that this is the end of days for college football, I would suggest it's not. I would suggest players have been getting paid forever, and that $13 million is going to be an outlier, and I think fairly laughable down the road. Now, there are college football players that are worth $13 million to their school. Joe Burrow made LSU $13 million. Not that the schools are paying them, but you understand the point. Tim Tebow, in his time in Florida, was worth $13 million, far more than that. Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson, national champs over there. Johnny Manziel made A&M more than $13 million. But it's not going to be promised to high school kids out of the chute. I just don't think that's sustainable. There are a lot of rich people. There are a lot of money. There's a lot of money in college athletics. But as long as it's coming out of boosters' pockets and sometimes with names attached to it, we understand where a lot of guys have benefited financially, name, image, and likeness in Baton Rouge. We run some commercials on this station. Multiple businesses. But I don't, $13 million. And quite frankly, if this thing falls through and they do release him and he ends up somewhere else, I think Florida can land on his feet without a 17, 18-year-old kid who believes himself to be a $13 million man. And again, I will clarify, if I'm an 18-year-old kid and some guy in a blue and orange shirt says, hey, man, I got $13 million here, I'm certainly not going to tell him to kick rocks. That's an enticing deal. But all of a sudden, it becomes all about that, and that creates some problems. You got a left tackle and a wide receiver not making $13 million, and they're cranky because the $13 million man doing some other things with his money. And this is not Jaden Rashada's fault. It just is what it is. That type of dynamic can't be good for a locker room, in my opinion. I don't think things in Gainesville are quite as bad as you would hope from this side of the fence. Sitting here in Baton Rouge, understanding that's a rival. What's that signing class look like? What's quote-unquote Sunbelt Billy doing? It's easy to jump down the throat and say they're a disaster and things are in shambles and it's never going to work. I'm not there. But they do have some issues that need to be ironed out. And year one, I would not call a resounding success. But it's still year one. We'll see what's to come. I don't think Jaden Rashada is going to be a part of it, however. And we'll see where he lands because both decisions he's made, by all reports, just taking what people say, came from, all right, who's got the checkbook here? Oh, you do? Where do I sign? All right, endorse that. What can I, that bank down the street? I can, okay, good. That seems like where he continues to walk, and that seems dicey. A lot of layers to it. It's not cut and dried. It's not black and white. It's not as simple as we should never give them a cent, and it's not as simple as the players should have the power, let them do whatever they want. I refuse to believe either one of those absolutes are true. But I think as each situation arises, you can understand what is working and what isn't, what is good and what is quote-unquote bad. This one has a sour taste to it. And I don't know what the ending's going to be, but it's doesn't sound great. LSU's quarterback room seems to be in pretty good shape, though. Greener pastures over here for the time being. We'll come back with some SEC power rankings on the basketball side. We'll finish things up with Take It or Leave It.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. BayouFord.com is the website. I invite you to go as often as you like because they update that website as inventory comes in and as it moves out. Got some great deals on F-150s. Got some great deals on Black Widows. If that's what you want, check the website out and see what they got. If they don't have exactly what you want, just call Ben Gagne's team. Let them customize a vehicle for you. I love because last time I purchased a vehicle, I did go to the dealership and I walked around and I drove 2 cars and then I sat down at the table and we signed all the paperwork and it took a long time. Didn't have to this time around. They can customize a vehicle for you. They can have it brought to their dealership. They'll get one of their 6 full-time drivers to drive it right to your front door with all the paperwork. You do it from the comfort of their own home. And then when you're done, car's right there in the driveway. Guys from Bayou Ford will head on back to the dealership. And if you need a little head start on the purchase of that new vehicle, they got a great buy-back program. They'll buy your current vehicle from you, give you that head start on your new wheels. Every new purchase, 1 million-mile powertrain warranty over at Bayou Ford. check out that website, BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes
the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Tune in Saturday when the Chiefs host the Jaguars at 3:30 p.m., followed by the Eagles and the Giants at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bills host the Bengals at 2 p.m. and the 49ers host the Cowboys at 5:30, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Now that I've done these basketball power rankings for a few weeks, I'm determining that these are far more volatile than the football power rankings. Football, you kind of stayed in your little cluster more often than not. Now, there were some times where teams jumped up and down. Certainly LSU I had down like around 11 after Tennessee maybe, and then they were up at 2 at one point. So, yeah, there is some volatility. Kentucky and their offense nosedived. That wasn't great. But these, it's like week to week moving like crazy. Start at the top with Bama. Everybody knows at this point. They've all won all 6 of their league games by double digits. They're 16-2 overall. I think they might be the best team in the country, which is nauseating. Tennessee, I've got it 2 still. 15-3, 5-1. Had the hiccup against Kentucky in Knoxville, but they were good again last night, especially on offense in Starkville. So go ahead and give them the nod at number 2. And I think the gap between 2 and 3 is real sizable. I think if you asked 4 people who the third best team in the SEC was, you might get 4 answers. And that was kind of what we were thinking about in football this year when everybody thought it was Georgia and Bama and who was third. And for a while there it was Tennessee, and then you could maybe throw LSU in there at a certain point, and Bama may have bounced out. But it felt like that at the beginning, and right now it feels like that with basketball, where there's two teams, everybody else is kind of running third. You heard me talk about this team at the top of the hour and say they weren't that good. They're good. They're not that good. And they're beatable. But I don't have anybody to slam dunk ahead of Auburn at number 3. I don't even like this. I don't even like this. But the teams I've got at 4, 5, 6, and 7, I don't like at 3 either. I don't like anybody at 3. 3 feels too close to Tennessee and above some teams that you may not be better than. But I'll put Auburn there. They're 14-3. They're 4-1 in the league. Their wins are not that impressive. They beat Florida. They beat Arkansas. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. But that's the thing. Once you get below 3, who's that impressive? Am I going to give you a ton of credit for beating Kentucky? Missouri did it by 1,000. South Carolina did it. LSU was right there. How good do I feel about them at 3? Would I give you a ton of credit for beating Arkansas? Everybody says they got 2 lottery picks. They're 1-4 in the league. A&M? No. Not what they did in the non-conference. So I got Auburn at 3. I got Kentucky at 4. Maybe they found something with Case and Wallace at point guard and sitting Wheeler down. They've clearly got a guy who's going to make them fairly competitive most nights with Shibwe. But I can't get over the South Carolina loss. It's just brutal. At 5, I think this is a pretty big mover here. This was volatile. I've got A&M at 5. It makes me sad. And you're talking about a team that is 4-0 in the league, but was atrocious in the non-conference. Their 4 wins: Florida, LSU, Missouri, and South Carolina. That's a pretty long runway to take off from. But I have to give them credit for winning the last 3, LSU, Missouri, and South Carolina, by a total of 72 points. That's 24 points per game. That's pretty salty. So I'll put A&M at 5. This is where it's a total cluster at this point. I'll put Florida at 6. They're 10-7. That's a terrible record. But they're 3-2 in the league. They've got a difference maker on the inside. Sure, why not? I've got Georgia at 7. They're 13-5, 3-2 in league play. Nice win over Auburn. Was at home. It's the way all these wins are coming. But that drives Arkansas all the way down to 8. I mean, you would have never in October thought that Arkansas would be the number 8 team in the league. But the story is by now very well known. You've lost 2 of your best players. You can't shoot. And, by the way, you lost the ability to play defense last weekend and gave up 97 points to Vanderbilt. I said it on Monday. I'll say it again here on Wednesday. Arkansas is an NIT team for me right now. NIT for Arkansas. Hard to imagine when you are from back-to-back Elite Eights, you sign a top 5 recruiting class in the country, and all of a sudden, I don't think you're making the NCAA tournament. We'll see. I got Missouri at 9. They're 13-4, 2-3 in league play. They lost 2 road games last week, which kind of knocked them down. They were up there near the top. But lost A&M, lost to Florida, both games on the road. Now you got a chance to come home and play Arkansas and see what you can do. Maybe you leapfrog them, but we'll see. I do have LSU at 10. I think I could make the argument to put them higher, and I could certainly make the argument to put them lower, which means I think they're probably in the right place. I don't think LSU is as broken as they looked on Saturday. You were outmanned in a hornet's nest, and Bama shot it great. And that's just what's going to happen. Bama has not won their last conference game by 30 points. They will beat somebody else by 1 million. I know we lost by 40. They may not win another game by 40. I think they'll win another one by 30 because they can just overwhelm you. That's what happened at LSU. Keep in mind what I was talking about at the top of the hour. You played with Wake and beat them. You played with K-State, and you were a bucket short. You played with Kentucky at Rupp. You beat Arkansas. You have played some functional, some talented basketball teams, and you have played with them. Some nights LSU's not going to have it, and that's just part of being a limited basketball team. But some nights they are, and I think that their competitive days are not behind them. Got them at 10. I have to drop Mississippi State down to 11. You just don't score. They're 1-5 in the league now. They're 12-6 overall. Here are their SEC point totals this year: 67, 53, 64, 50, 63, 59. They have not even sniffed 70 points yet in league play. I know you can defend well. I know Tolu Smith's a great rebounder. I know your coach is tough and I think is going to do a pretty good job there. But if you can't throw the ball in the ocean, you're not going to win. I got Mississippi State down at 11. Vandy can throw it in the ocean. They've scored a little bit. I've got them at 12. They're 9-9 on the season, 2-3 in league play. They do have the benefit that 2 of their games between Bama and Tennessee are in the rearview mirror. And in their other SEC games, they are 2-1, beating South Carolina, Arkansas, and Missouri. So I think Vanderbilt's better than I thought they were going to be. I've always thought that Stackhouse ran some pretty good offenses. Didn't think their defense was always great, and their talent has not been good enough. This is still not a super talented team, but I think they're okay. And these are the last 2, and I think these guys are here to stay for a little bit. Ole Miss is 13th. They're 9-9, 1-5 in league play, and they beat South Carolina. I made a big hubbub about it over the weekend, so I'm going to have to bump South Carolina down. Nice win at Rupp. That was good, but you've been atrocious the other 4 SEC games, and you let the second-worst team in the league beat you, which makes you the worst team in the league. And that's what South Carolina, I think, is. So starting at 1, Alabama 1, Tennessee 2, Auburn at 3, Kentucky 4, A&M is in 5th, Florida at 6, 7th place, Georgia, 8th place, Arkansas, and 9th, Missouri. LSU comes in at number 10 in the SEC per me. Number 11, Mississippi State, 12, Vandy, 13, Ole Miss, and 14, South Carolina, who is 8-10 on the season. That's a look at your Southeastern Conference power rankings. Earlier in the show, at the bottom of hour number 1, I gave you my gambling picks for tonight. We went 2-2 last night. We'll see what the future holds tonight in the 2 games opposite LSU. I want to remind you about Strikeout ALS. It's coming at you tomorrow. Tomorrow at Red Stick Social, going to be from 5 to 10 p.m. It's the Nola brothers, Aaron and Austin. They do a great job fighting against ALS. They raise critical funds, raise awareness, and we'll be there tomorrow, Thursday the 19th from 5 to 10. You can purchase tickets at als.org/strikeoutals. I'll be trying to bust some pins. Our guarantee team will be trying to bust some pins. I think we got Michelle Southern from Eagle 981 on the team. I think she's pretty good, apparently. I think Chris Elliott is on the squad. I think the girls from 100.7 The Tiger are going to be out there as well. So we're looking forward to knocking some pins down, raising some money, and having a good time at Red Stick Social. If you can come out, buy some tickets at als.org/strikeoutals. We will come back. We will close this thing out with some Take It or Leave It. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it, They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
3 people walk into a bar. The first 2 order the same old margs. The third, Nuevo Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer, crafted with real lime juice and a crisp tequila flavor. Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Aaron and Austin Nola will join us. We'll preview LSU basketball and hoops. And it's a Whiskey Wednesday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One more reminder for tonight, LSU and Auburn, 6 o'clock tip-off from the PMAC. It'll be on ESPN 2. If you want to listen to it, you can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. It'll be a 5:30 pregame. Chris Blair and John Brady on the call courtside over there on campus. Hope you can make it out and make it a nice environment for the Tigers as they try to get back to on the winning track against Bruce Pearl's Auburn squad. All right, let's get on down the road. Taylor Sharp, take it or leave it.
Yeah, let's knock it out. Number 1 seed Rafael Nadal lost in straight sets last night in the second round of the Aussie Open. Rafa's Grand Slam days are over. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. They still play the French Open on clay. He's still eligible for that. I will take him. His French Open record is one of the most remarkable statistics I have ever seen in sports. Somebody can look it up. I think he's lost like twice ever. So I think he's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 100 and something and 2 in the French Open. It's ridiculous. So I am a little surprised as somebody who doesn't follow tennis as closely as I used to that he's still a number 1 seed in a Grand Slam that's not the French. But he still gets to play the French. He lost on hard courts last night. That's a little jarring. He'll be back on the clay.
Raising Cane's opened its first Chicago location. Over 400 people waited in line just to get some tenders. 400-person lines for a Caniac. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it, not because of the Caniac, because of the 400 people. I remember distinctly Cane's opening on Uri Drive in Shreveport. Now, Cane's for me, obviously, because it was only in Baton Rouge at that time, was an LSU tailgating staple. It made me think of LSU because it's the only time I could get Cane's. Well, they opened on Uri. I went 4 times the first week. So I get the excitement of these people to go grab some Cane's. But if I'm going to wait in line for some Cane's, it's going to be like 14 people and not 400. I will wait in line for a Caniac. It's delicious. I love the fries. I love the toast. I love the sauce. I'm all for it. 400 people, I'm probably going to go to the place next door.
Before we do this next one, Rafael Nadal in the French Open, 112 wins, 3 losses, 14 titles.
114-3 on the clay in the French Open. That's incredible. I love stats like that.
Las Vegas goalie Robin Lehner files bankruptcy this week. He's apparently $50 million in the hole. Vegas is a good place to work while filing for bankruptcy. Take it or leave it.
I didn't mean to laugh. I didn't laugh at his financial situation. Apparently, this is not like some massive gambling debt he's not paying off. He got some bad investments and is in some trouble with that side of things, so he's filing for bankruptcy. He's still apparently a pretty good goalie and can make some money to help dig out of that hole. Yeah, but Vegas doesn't appear to me to be a great place to do that. I have been to Vegas a couple of times, and I've made the decision, if I plan to go back because I like Vegas a lot, but if you go to Vegas on vacation and you have like this amount of money you're uncomfortable spending, like it just gets really hairy. Like it's just not a fun place to be. You're constantly counting dollar signs. Every drink at the pool is $14. Every dinner is ridiculously expensive. You buy tickets to a show, try to get a cocktail there, it's $24. Like it can be overwhelming if you don't just determine, like, it's a hard place to be. It just is. It's so expensive. And to live there and to work there would be tough, especially when you're $50 million in the hole. So I don't envy that at all.
Aaron Rodgers told Pat McAfee that he's mulling his options for next season. Aaron Rodgers unsure about his NFL future. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take that. I'm sure he's unsure about it. I just have my reservations about a player signing a 3-year contract worth a handsome amount of money and then holding the organization hostage after 1 year of it and being like, yeah, I'm probably not. I mean, I get that there are people that side with the player saying, hey, you've reached this status in the game. You've only got a couple years left. You should be able to dictate your terms. Then you should have signed a 1-year deal. If you want to reevaluate things after, you're a Packer until you're not. That's just the way I think of it. I think that may be an antiquated thought process to some people, but you signed the deal. If we sign a deal here and then want to leave and go do something that competes, there's a non-compete that's involved. It's a pretty simple concept that involves it applies to a lot of industry. I just don't get this like strong arm aloof thing he does every single year. If I was a Packers fan, it would drive me nuts, but I'd want him back. So that's, I guess, the point. If you're wanted enough, you can kind of drive the bus. It's a little frustrating to me because it seems easy to sign the deal and go to work, but it's not the way Aaron sees it, I guess.
Aaron doesn't think like other people either.
No.
All right. LSU over Auburn tonight. Take it or leave it.
Oh, man. LSU over Auburn tonight. Take it or leave it. That's the question as I mull it over without a great answer. I told you in my preview that I thought that this was a winnable game for LSU. I'll take it. I'm taking LSU over Auburn. Why not? Well, I have a lot of reasons why not, actually, because Auburn's won 4 league games and has a really good coach and some really talented players and a deep bench, and LSU's coming off a 40-point loss that was really embarrassing that I didn't watch the second half of. So there are plenty of reasons to pick Auburn to win the game. I'll take LSU. Home crowd. LSU's got to knock down some shots. Maybe Auburn, like they did at Georgia, has trouble making shots. Wendell Green isn't a great shooter and takes a lot of shots for them. Some of their backcourt guys have been inconsistent, especially KD Johnson. Some of the wing guys are not prolific scorers, and maybe you get Jani Broome in foul trouble, and they're not as tough around the rim as they have been. They're 5th in the country in shots blocked. But it's wishful thinking, but I choose to think that way at this point in the show. So we're going to take LSU over Auburn tonight. Hopefully that is the case as the Tigers and Tigers. It's always tough when you go into you feel like you're going to introduce the game and you're just used to saying LSU first as the Tigers, and the next thing comes up is Tigers as well. You hear the Russ Mitchell intro on Match Show all the time. He says, there's too many Tigers in the league. Well, we'll see who the top Tiger in the league is tonight with LSU and Auburn. Hopefully LSU can get it done. We'll be talking about it on tomorrow's show. Tomorrow's show will also start to look towards the divisional playoffs. We'll talk about all 4 of the matchups. This is really the best weekend of the NFL calendar. You've got all the best teams in there. You got high stakes. You've got football all day, really, for 2 days. It's gonna be awesome. So we'll get to start talking about that tomorrow, and certainly recap LSU and Auburn. Very much looking forward to that as well. If you missed any of the show today, you can catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab. You can catch the Hunt Palmer Show right there. All the audio is archived there. You can also find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Just search the Hunt Palmer Show. You can find it there. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate that. Gets us in front of as many eyeballs and eardrums as possible. Those of y'all on YouTube, you subscribe to the channel as well. Taylor does an awesome job of cutting up a couple segments every day. Posting them if you're subscribed. You'll get those, and you can also find the entirety of our shows each and every day on YouTube. If you missed it in the first hour, talked a little about the Saints and Chris Olave and what him being the number 3 rookie, according to ESPN, actually means for the organization. Talked a little bit about the transfer portal with Cardell Thomas moving out as well. I previewed LSU and Auburn at 2 o'clock. Jason Caldwell joined us in the first hour from the Auburn side of things as well. So dive into all of that as you see fit. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming to you from 6 to 8 tonight. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Hope the Tigers get it done. We're back same time, same place tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is.